Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. My name is Martha, and I work with some of our largest brand partners, enabling them to better leverage Facebook's family of apps, and in particular, the Messenger app. Interestingly, my role more often than not involves matching these brand partners with amazing developer partners, like these three exciting companies who we're going to hear more from today. Before we hear from these folks, I did want to try and get a very quick show of hands in the room. So if you guys don't mind, I can barely see you, but I'll try. Can you raise your hand if you were in attendance at F8 last year? Any of you guys? No? You got to participate. Awesome. It looks like a whole bunch of you came back for more this year, which is great, very encouraging. We appreciate you. A fun fact, I was also here last year, but as an attendee. I actually worked in partnerships for a very early stage Messenger developer startup right up until January of this year. So it's really cool for me to be back here at F8 representing you all, the developers, from the other side of the house. So today what we're going to do is we're going to meet three cutting-edge Facebook developer partners. We're going to hear from them directly about how they've built their businesses on Facebook's product suite and what they've learned along the way. Right?
Let's do it.
Yeah, but very quickly before we get started, just because I'm very excited about how global this panel is, we're all very much representing different regions here, I did want to say, Willkommen, Max. Bem-vinda, Elisa.
Obrigada.
Salamata Tang, Yash. And Kate Mila Folcha. Or 100,000 welcomes to all of you to F8 2019. I got the Irish in there at the end, and my dad is going to be so pleased with me. So let's kick off by letting the audience know who you all are. Can you please introduce yourself, tell us a little bit about your business, and maybe some of the Facebook products that you predominantly work with. So Max, we'll start with you, and then we'll work our way down the line.
Sure. We have a software as a service startup, so we provide our customers a platform where they can create ads for Facebook, Instagram, for the stories or the feed, and that brings you down to Messenger, which is the core platform we are operating on, where you have an automated experience, and then you can generate the lead or check out if you go for commerce, and that's what our business does.
Awesome.
Okay, VisiLab is a transmedia content production boutique. And our typical clients are agencies and brands. We are a bunch of designers and storytellers that embrace technology. And that being said, today we are able to produce content for a large variety of platforms. And I may say from still images to AR apps and even full-blown location-based experiences. I know this may seem a little bit weird, but as we expect, the internet will become spatial and interactive, so we are preparing ourselves to be relevant when it comes.
Yes, good to be prepared.
So this is VisiLab.
Hey everybody, my name is Yash, and I formally call myself the CEO, but otherwise it's #Jumpman. Developers, make some noise, man, come on.
Yeah.
So, very quickly, Jumper.ai, what we like to say, is the fastest commerce enabler on and within Facebook, and leveraging the power of Messenger. So imagine when you post something on your timeline, or your page, or your profile, that is shoppable then and there, right? And we've seen merchants getting onboarded in less than like 11 minutes. They're ready to sell. I know I can use the stage, so try it out.
Maybe if we have time at the end, yeah, okay. Awesome. I think it's really cool just to hear the variety of businesses that are gleaning success from Facebook's various products today. So it's really awesome to have you here, and I really appreciate you guys joining the panel today. Elisa, I know you have some really amazing insights from the world of AR and VR. So maybe you could tell us a little bit about the biggest way Facebook's product suite has helped you to build your company, VisiLab.
Okay, so these answers for me means two words. First one, strategy. We all saw since yesterday how expanded realities are in the core of Facebook's strategy for the next wave of computing. So the other word is reach, because in Brazil, Facebook apps has this gigantic presence that every day more than 93 million people accesses those platforms, regardless of the devices they use. So in this scenario, for us, doing AR is with Spark AR. It let us create for brands a lot of very interesting stuff. And when it comes for brands, we know they save a lot of money when they do this using Facebook platforms. So their media strategies are much more effective.
Excellent. That's awesome. Great. Kudos to you and the team as well. I know you've been very busy. Max, from our previous conversations, I know in a way it seems as though you always knew you were going to build your business on top of Facebook products. Can you tell us all a little bit about the foundations for Spectrum and how things really kicked off for you and the team, who I know are over there somewhere?
There he is. No, so we were back in college in that time, and already all the engagement between me and my friends and my family was happening on messaging apps. And so we were exploring this because we thought if that's the most important platform for us right now, then maybe there's an opportunity to also, communicate there with a business as well. So that's why we started to run experiments there and had some initial success. And then in, beginning of 2016, then Messenger was about to open up, and then we saw the opportunity crystal clear and said, let's build for Messenger, let's build the entire business on messaging first, and that's what we did. And today it's the 4th year in a row at F8.
Excellent. That's awesome. I'm a little bit biased because I do work on Messenger. Yash, anytime we talk about the scale that you're seeing with Jumper.ai, I know that I, for one, am definitely blown away. Can you talk to us a little bit about the growth of your company and also how you've kind of gained momentum as a company?
Sure. So when we started, this concept was pretty new. Everybody was, whoever we showed this to or spoke about this, they were like, no, this is not possible. I was like, give it a try. And when they saw it, especially when they see powered by Jumper.ai, it automatically started seeing momentum. It got shared between friends, friends of friends. And what we leverage on is hashtags to purchase. When people do hashtags, their friends and friends of friends, family, they see it and they try it. And when they see this lovely experience, that got us the word of mouth publicity and made us balloon up today to about 14,000 merchants that are transacting every day.
That's incredible scale. Very cool.
Thank you.
So let's talk a little bit about innovation. Who am I going to prey on? Max, what are you and your clients up to these days to make sure that you're really staying ahead of the curve when it comes to innovating with Facebook's products?
Yeah, sure. I think the most sustainable way for businesses in general to stay ahead of the curve is to be really focused on your user or on your consumer, on your buyer. And when you're inside messaging, you have that one-to-one conversation, which it's a private place. As said, I chat there with my family and my friends. So to be there and relevant as a business on messaging, you have to be really focused and really user-centric to have this conversation there. So, and this one-to-one conversation that finally, you have to be the user-centric, and then it leads to it automatically leads you to ahead of the curve because you're focused on your user, and that leads you to success.
Awesome, thank you.
Well,
Elisa, I know you have some nuances from the Brazilian market.
Oh.
Yes, as you edge forward there to talk about innovation, I love it. I know you have kind of market-specific nuances that you have to think about and navigate when you're dealing with innovation for your company.
Sure.
Tell us a bit about that.
In VisiLab, we consider ourselves to be real early adopters. And you must understand this in our context. Because Brazil will never be the first country that comes to your minds when the subject is technology, science, or innovation. But when it comes to creativity, it's where we thrive. So for us, this means survival, but it also means excellence. And plus, I am inside the advertisement ecosystem, and this ecosystem in Brazil is known for its tight deadlines and not so great budgets. So again, working with AR and Spark AR makes a huge difference for us. We've been using it for the last 12 months and already created a few very cool experiences for brands. So this for us is very, very important.
That's awesome. We're glad you're surviving and that you're here today.
I'm here.
You're
Hope
here.
to be here next year.
Exactly. Yash, I'd love if you could tell this audience a little bit about the sorts of partners that you work with and how you're building successes for them on the Facebook product suite.
Right, so we work with a variety of partners and we educate them on what Facebook and the other apps that can do for them. And most of them have this challenge: how do we scale from one post or one Instagram story or just one link that is shared? We guide them through that journey and handhold them rather than just making the journey and just doing my work, right? And the way we innovate with them is giving them use cases, like running flash sales, which they never thought was possible from a live video, right? And they use influencers a lot. So a company like Marvel, what we did was enable them to sell movie tickets while watching a trailer on Facebook. And that was one of my dreams to power Marvel, because I'm a big fan of Iron Man. And if I could do that for them, and when they saw results, which were fantastic, and when they made a case study on Jumper, I was blown away. Similarly, we did that for coffee shops. Like, none of us, especially me, I hate standing in a line. And if you've seen me around this conference, I'm always bouncing from coffee place to coffee place to coffee place.
I have seen that.
Right? So what we did was enable these coffee shops to empower their clients to just say my usual please and process payments with just one word. And it'll keep my coffee ready and come back to me. So this is how we guide them, and we innovate that step by step by guiding them. And what we do then again is write these use cases on our blogs where it passes off from seller to seller, and they can learn from each other. So we are building a small little community which helps each other.
Awesome. Yash talked a bit about case studies, and I know, Max, for you and the team at Spectrum, focusing in on value for the brand and the return on their investment, focusing on the bottom line is a big focus for you guys. So I'd love if you could kind of share with us some of what you would consider your success indicators when you're running initiatives with your partners, the types of metrics that you're constantly keeping an eye on and making sure that your brands are seeing good ROI and return on their investment with you.
Absolutely. I think the most important metric is, in the end, is the revenue you generated together with the brand you are working on. If you don't take a proxy like, you had some kind of engagement, or we had so and so many users, that's good, that's great, that's a good start. But if you're focusing on revenue or the generated revenue, that's usually the best way to also create a long-term engagement with a business or with a customer. Mm-hmm. And I think that's what we focus the most on. And so there's an example, for example, from Happy Socks, which is a socks brand, super cool for Christmas. They did guided selling on Messenger, and in the end, they had a 3.2 return on invest, and there's no way not to be happy about that.
Happy socks.
Exactly.
Very happy socks.
Sorry, that was terrible. I had to. Elisa, I know you have a whole host of partnerships that you're super proud of coming out of Brazil. Can you talk to us about some of the partnerships you're most proud of, and give us some details of the types of engagements you've been running?
Sure. The first one that comes to my mind is Volkswagen, because it's our most important client. And inside Volkswagen, there's this group which is called LAM, which is Latin America. And they have very unique challenges that we help them to face. They deal with 27 countries and 2 languages at the same time. So every time they launch a car, we create for them hundreds of different deliverables so that they can engage their audience in a very unique way, I say. And for them, it means result. I can share some numbers with you. So in 2017, this group of countries grew sales by 25% against a global average of 4.2. And the next year, 2018, they grew 13.1% against the global average of only 0.2. So it's a great result, and we are too proud to be part of that. And on the other hand, we also have celebrities, because they are just like brands. They must take good care of the images and things they put into the network for their fans to interact with. So we created for a famous soccer player in Brazil an Instagram mask, and this mask took over Instagram. All the famous hotshots from global soccer interacted with it, so there were hundreds and hundreds of shareable content, films, photos, and of course we were very proud because we generated like 9-figure impressions with this mask.
Yeah. So there's a lot of fun to be had with the AR, but also a lot of money to be made, right?
Oh, sure.
I love it. So to shift gears a little bit, I'd love to hear a little bit from you all about the opportunities that you see for Facebook as we think about advancements across the family of apps. So obviously we've heard a lot today and yesterday, new announcements and things like that. But I'd love to hear from you guys, particularly thinking about your focus areas. So AR and VR, social commerce, messaging. Maybe Elisa, you could tell us what you might be most excited to see.
Yeah, I heard so many cool stuff. I don't know where to begin with. It was a very good surprise. So VisiLab just not only work with software, we work with hardware also. So we've been using Oculus Rift and Oculus Go, and now I can't wait to get my Quest. Because for me, it's a very important step towards a democratic VR, because it's a powerful device with no cables for a cheaper price. So for us, it's fundamental. Then, of course, the whole new Spark AR, all rewritten from bottom up, together with AR shopping. This creates for amazing opportunities to help our clients sell. And, of course, security. Fantastic. And then I have to mention, because I love it, geolocated based AR. I think this, with Instagram, will make for AR what it already did for photography. It will let not only us who work with this, but people to express themselves. It's amazing.
You have a lot to play with right now, right? There's a lot, going on.
I can continue.
Yash, what about you? If you had a wish list?
Oh, yes, it's a very big wish list. So this is actually my favorite question. So we as developers always want access to new APIs. And with the announcement that interoperability, did I just tongue twist? Okay. Anyway, so when messaging apps start talking to each other and the family of apps will come together, it's just going to open up phenomenal avenues. And we want to make sure that happens really soon. Of course, it's a very big process. And aligning with that, our clients, our partners, they will also see success. So if it was my wish list, WhatsApp.
Simple as that. Thank you. Max, what about you? What would you like to see from the product suite?
I think everything around this moment where the big shift is now happening, and you see that something happens in the story, and people message me because they saw something in the story. This smooth transition from social into the messaging world. I think that's a very, very exciting space to look at, and everything what can be built around that. Probably also I maybe get a notification or a little hint when someone liked my photo inside Messenger or inside Instagram direct message. So everything around that I think is super exciting and creates a lot of opportunities for people here in the room.
Absolutely.
I have one more.
You're not allowed to have one more.
Oh, okay.
I'm just kidding. Go ahead.
So we see a lot of commerce happening on Instagram, and the checkout on Instagram was just validation enough that it's going to go through the family of apps soon. And the sooner it happens, the beautiful and experience that will open up for us developers to build on top of that. So that is, again, something on my wish list, Instagram.
Make sure you write these down.
I have.
Awesome. Max, I think there's probably a multitude of people in the audience today who know as well as you do that it's not always easy building a business from scratch. There are challenges there when it comes to things like scale. I loved the way that you thought about the different challenges that come with growing the business from scratch and the way that you think about prioritization. Can you talk to us a little bit about that?
Yeah, I think we all have the feeling already because we all been in the keynote, and there's so much going on at Facebook. There are so many different opportunities. There's so many different use cases and problems you would like to tackle. But I think the most important point to build a business on Facebook is to focus on one thing and only one thing, because if you solve this in the right way, then you see scale. And I think that's the most important thing for building a business on Facebook. Don't get distracted.
Got it. That's good advice. Yash, before we move off the topic of challenges, I want to make sure that you're able to talk to this topic as well, because I know from our previous conversations, you face what I think is probably an age-old challenge for early adopting developers, and that is defining your market.
Yes.
You're first in there. What is it? What are you trying to do? Can you talk us through, what challenges you faced in that area and what you're trying to do to tackle them?
Sure, it was actually a very funny journey. Social commerce today has so many meanings. Like, everybody we talk to defines it in a very different way. I was just speaking to somebody outside over coffee. It was a fun conversation. They asked me, what do you do? I said, I enable commerce on Facebook. Like, oh, you share a link. I was like, something like that. And to get people to understand when you're doing something new, it's really tough. But when they see that happening and they experience it themselves, they think, wow, this was never possible. How did you make this happen? And then what we've relied on, and which is why Facebook is so important to us, that the word of mouth from community to community keeps traveling. There's so many groups who talk about social commerce. And that's one of the biggest challenges we faced, that how do we get this message across, that you can buy things now from a post? And when we see that this is going to be a new change, a buyer behavior which is going to change totally, we face a lot of pushback, right? That we were used to going to websites, filling up the mundane forms, and then checking out. And now, no matter who you buy from, if you use Jumper, you don't have to fill in anything ever again. And it's so organized, everybody will know everybody who's buying what, and then they can start exchanging things. So that's what I see. Explaining what social commerce is was the toughest challenge for me.
It's a pretty compelling proposition when you do get to explain it, though, right?
It's fun.
It is. Awesome. So I wanted to give you all an opportunity. We have obviously an audience of developers here who are listening intently to all your words of wisdom. If you had to give one piece of advice, maybe even to yourself, 3, 5 years ago when you were sort of starting from scratch, trying to figure out what you wanted to do and how you were going to do it, what would that one piece of advice be to a fellow developer looking to replicate what you're doing today? Maybe you start, Max, and then we'll go along the line.
Okay, I'm already the rule breaker. I have to. So the first one would be the truth lies in the documentation. So, there are a lot of people saying this is possible or that is not possible on Facebook. You can't do this, you can't do that. There's no opportunity for this, and so on. But if you just read the documentation, you make yourself very independent. I mean, you just read it, you see what's possible, what's not possible, and you will figure it out. I think that's the most important one. Don't listen to some advice from some people. Might did something on Facebook. Just read the documentation and you're good to go. And the second one is probably always keep the end user in mind, because Facebook is super fast changing. They change every day something. They make the big changes here at F8, and that could mean right now something is possible, but you get some revenue out of this, or you get some engagement and so on, but it's somehow annoying for the user, but right now it's working. I would never rely on this if I would personally feel, if I put myself in the shoes of the user, would say, this is rather annoying. So don't go for this hacky growth tricks to do something. I would say always keep the user in mind, and then you're in the long run, you're aligned with Facebook, and this is probably that grows the most your business.
Awesome, thank you. You guys are allowed to have 2 if you want to.
Okay.
Max cheated and took 2, so you can have 2 as well if you want. 1 is okay as well, though, Elise, if you only have 1.
No. The first one, as I am a content producer, I always bet a lot in the quality of real-time rendering, because real-time rendering will allow everything. So the quality of it is fundamental for us, and we experiment a lot. For one side, it allows people like us to produce amazing content, but for brands, the more they can have their product represented with true-to-life quality, the better the experience for both sides, both consumers and brands. So it's good for everyone. But as a second advice, I would always say to build trust. Trust between you and your client to really experiment, because we do that a lot. And trust between the client and the user, because they are really working in a way to deliver what they are promising. So trust is fundamental.
Great.
Right, so I might have three. So the first thing I would probably advise is the APIs or the access that we get is pretty much like a skeleton. It's up to us as coders, or I like to say fashion designers, to put amazing clothes and experience over it and ship it fast. Break it, no problem. You'll get user validation eventually, and they'll keep saying, no, this is bad. You're like, okay, tell me how to make it good. And when the documentation, as Max said, I totally agree, and back in the days on IRC when we used to develop chatbots, it was called RTFM. I cannot say the whole meaning of it on stage, but it was read the manual. Right? And that's really, really important, because it tells you what not to do. Right? And we as developers, again, have this small little ego that whatever we are making is right. And this is what I face every day in office. Right? So just make the wonderful clothes that you can on that skeleton and build an experience layer so that everybody can experience, just like how Max said. The users first. Just ship it out, break it, ship it again, break it. That's what I would say. There's more. I mean.
We have time for more if you wanted to add more.
Yeah, so while breaking things, what happens is for developers like us, we feel really bad when we get a lot of criticism. Take the criticism as an advice from a prospective user and build on top of that. That's really worked for us, because our first iteration of Jumper was horrendous. During a live demo, it didn't work, right? And since then, we coined a term, in a good pitch, there's always a glitch. And with the APIs, again, if you read the documentation, there's so much you can learn from that. And it says, in a way, crying out loud, that these are the things you can begin with. And that's what we follow. That's one more thing you can do, is use all the possible APIs and see what amalgamation that forms. And that'll be the foundation of a business that you're going to set on Facebook.
Awesome. Do you guys want to add anything now that Yash had some extra time there? I want to make sure this is fair and equal across all.
Well, it's not exactly advice, but we have a very complex number of combinations and deliverables. So we already understood that creating products from there help a lot the client understand what the hell I do. So now this year we are beginning this journey to create what I call products, because it's easier to explain a product than my mindset. So that may be very good advice.
That's awesome. I like that. Is it easy to explain your mind, Max? Easier than a product?
No. I think there's just one more piece of advice, which is almost a classic startup advice, but it applies specifically to building on Facebook, and that is do things that don't scale. Because getting the scale later on Facebook, that's the easy part. but figuring out at the beginning where is the specific user problem, where you could really create a benefit for the user. I think that's the much more important part. And you can start with the APIs, but if you're not sure and you don't want to build the full integration into the API, maybe you just reply manually or do whatever it takes to get it live and get the validation from the user. And then after that, if you see that, hey, I found something that is exciting, then I can go and build the full integration and then scale it with Facebook.
Trying to find the stickiness.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. So I think today we heard about some of the ways the Facebook product suite can influence the growth of a developer's business. We discussed innovation, staying ahead of the curve as early adopters, and how clients of various sizes can also be successful when they're in the hands of the right developers, really. We're so thankful to hear directly from Max, Eliza, and Yash about the challenges that you've all faced and also the opportunities that you're looking forward to. And these guys will kindly shared their words of advice for others trying to replicate their successes. For me, it's that effort in sharing that is actually the most important takeaway from this session. In other words, it's the value of the Facebook developer community. Max, I know you and I have had the opportunity to work together before now, which is awesome. But Eliza and Yash, it's been a pleasure getting to know you guys over the past couple of weeks. And I think what's been really evident for me, and I hope evident for the audience in the room today, is just that there is so much value in knowledge sharing, developer to developer. It's really unfathomable. And that actually doesn't matter whether or not your products that you specialize in are the same or not. There's still value there in the knowledge sharing. I think yesterday we learned that across Facebook's family of apps, there are now over 30,000 developers building incredible things on this suite of apps. That's amazing. There are universal themes that you all have exposure to, and I hope that we were able to surface some valuable insights for you all today. Definitely after this session, we want to be able to regroup with anyone that might have follow-up questions. So we're going to march over to the Messenger booth right after. So if any of you do have follow-up questions or want to connect directly with myself, Max, Eliza, or Yash, we will be there to do that. And in the meantime, we just thank you for listening and hope that you all have a really good rest of your F8.
Thank you.
Bye, Brazil.